Hey guys, David here, and today I'll be showing you how to install and use AppImage software on Linux. Now, since the AppImage software format is a self-contained executable format containing everything the software needs to run inside, there really isn't a traditional installation that needs to be done. However, the file still does need to be made executable after downloading to be able to be run, and it's also nice to stay organized with them in a central location and add shortcuts to them in your software menu. So that's what I'm going to be showing you how to do today. Now I'm using OpenSUSE Tumbleweed with the KDE Plasma desktop environment here, but you should be able to follow these steps regardless of the Linux distro or desktop environment you're using. Just some of the options and settings may be in slightly different places, but the general concepts and steps will remain the same. If you're using another distro with KDE, the steps actually should be pretty much exactly the same. Alright, let's get started. So the software I'm going to be doing this with today is the Ledger Live desktop software for my hardware crypto wallet, which comes in AppImage format on Linux. Now I've already gone ahead and downloaded it from their website, which downloaded this AppImage file right here to my downloads folder. Now you technically can run this software right from your downloads folder, but after downloading, I recommend putting all AppImage files in a central location for easier management. What I like to do is inside of my home directory, I create a bin folder, which you can see I've already done here. And then inside of that bin folder, I'll create a new folder for the application. So I'm just going to create a new folder called Ledger Live here. And you should put the name of your application or whatever else you'd like to name the folder. Now inside of my new folder here, I'm going to move the AppImage file from my downloads directory into the folder that I created for it. Now the reason I like structuring it this way as a bin folder inside of my home folder with each application getting a separate folder is because sometimes apps will request read-write access to the folder they're located in for various reasons, for example, such as downloading an update file. By putting the bin folder in our home folder and giving each application its own folder, we ensure we have proper read-write permissions for the application to do what it needs, since we'll be running these programs as our own user, and it will be able to do this without interfering with other installed applications, since each app gets its own folder. It's also a nice place to store the app's icon file, which you may need to download separately for your desktop software menu, which I'll explain more later in the video. Now there is a bit of nuance to the home folder approach. If you have more than one user on the same Linux system and want them all to be able to access the application, it might not be practical to put the AppImage file in your home directory, since you'd have to do that for each user. Another common place for shared applications on Linux is the opt or /opt folder, which you can see here I do already have some apps in here on my system, each within their own folder again. However, if you're going to put AppImage files in the opt folder, you need to make sure that the application folders have proper read-write permissions for the users that will be running the application, for the same reason I mentioned earlier in the video. This is why I prefer the home folder method personally, since in my experience this can start getting tedious to manage and setting proper permissions can get difficult. Now if you do decide to put apps in the opt folder, the rest of the video will be the same, but you'll just have the additional step of setting proper permissions on the folder, which I will not be covering in this video. For 99% of users, the home folder method should be the easiest to set up and be the most practical, so let's continue what we were doing. Alright, the next thing we need to do to actually be able to run our AppImage file is to make it executable by giving it the executable flag. Now your file most likely won't be executable automatically after downloading it, since that's a security risk, so this step is very important. But before we do this, if you're enjoying following along so far, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more. Now on some desktop environments, you might actually just be able to go and run the file as is by clicking, and you'll get this dialog here that will do it for you automatically. But I'm pretty sure this is even a newer addition to the KDE Plasma desktop, so I'm just going to assume that you don't have this and do it old school through the terminal, and so you can follow along regardless of the desktop environment that you're using. So I've opened up a terminal window, and super simple, all I'm going to do is type chmod, or change mode, space, +x, so we're adding the executable flag, space, and then the path of our AppImage file. Now, if you're in most desktop environments, you can just drag the file into the terminal window, and it'll put it automatically for you like that. But if yours doesn't, you'll have to type it in manually. So once I've done that, I'll just hit enter, and that's it. I'll close my terminal window, and I'll click my application to run it. Give it a second here, and it opened right up. Now that's great, but I don't want to have to go to this folder anytime I want to run this software. And AppImage software doesn't get added to the software menu or start menu on most desktop environments automatically. So let's do that next. Now to do this on KDE Plasma here, I'll right-click the launcher and I'll click Edit Applications. And I think it makes sense to put Ledger Live in the utilities folder for me, but you can choose whatever folder you would like. So I'll just select that and I'll go up here. I'll click new and new item. And I'm just going to name it Ledger Live. I'll click OK. And for the program, I'm going to click here to browse and I'll just go into my bin folder and the Ledger Live folder and I'll select the AppImage file. Now that's technically all that needs to be done, but I want to add an icon as well. So I've gone ahead and downloaded an icon for the Ledger Live desktop software, and I've put it in my Ledger Live folder as well here. So back in the menu editor, I'll just click this icon, and I'll click Browse. And we're already in the Ledger Live folder. I'll just select my icon, and I'll click Open. And this gives the program shortcut a nice icon in the menu. So once I'm happy with my changes, I'll just click Save. And now if I go to my Applications menu under Utilities, we can see that I have a new shortcut for Ledger Live. And if I just click that, the software opens right up. And that's really all that needs to be done. Your AppImage software is installed and working. Now it's worth noting that you can also apply the same organization method to other downloadable software that might not be in the AppImage format, but is still distributed in some other self-contained format, such as what I've done with Android Studio here. It's also worth noting that there is this tool called AppImage Launcher that is supposed to automate the steps I've shown you in the video today. However, it's not supported on every Linux distribution, but if it is supported on yours, it may be worth installing and trying it out. I'll leave a link to it down in the description below, but the steps I've shown you today should give you more control and will work on any distribution. Anyways, that's it for this video. If this helped, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll also leave a link to a written guide on my blog that you can follow along to down below.